A long time ago, in a small village at the bottom of a big mountain, there lived a young man who was lazy and didn't do much. While his friends and neighbors were working hard in the fields and factories, he spent his days sitting under a strong oak tree, daydreaming and sleeping. One day, a wise old monk arrived in the village and everyone noticed him because he looked so peaceful. The monk wanted to teach the young man something and walked over to him. He said with a smile, "My son, I have a job that's just right for you." He wanted the young man to go to the top of the big mountain and get a single feather from the highest point. The young man laughed at the idea. "But, wise monk," he said, "the top of that mountain is too high for me. I'm too lazy to climb it." The monk gave a mysterious smile. "However, the feather you are looking for isn't found on the mountain peak. It is on the other side in a cave that is only accessible by climbing the mountain and then going down the other side." The young man became curious about the monk's cryptic words and agreed to take on the challenge. With each difficult step, he felt the weight of being lazy and tired. But as he went higher, he started to feel more excited and a new sense of determination grew inside him. When he reached the top of the mountain, he was very tired but felt a strong sense of accomplishment. However, the real test was yet to come, which was going down the mountain's steep side. Despite stumbling and almost falling on the difficult path, the young man kept going because he was driven by the idea of finding the elusive feather. He kept going, even when the terrain got really rough. At last, he stood in front of the entrance to the famous cave. Inside, it was dark, but he saw the feather, which was very simple but beautiful. He picked it up carefully and felt something deep inside him stirring. But his happiness was short-lived, as he thought about how hard it would be to find his way back to the monk. Doubts started to take over, but then he remembered how good it felt to have achieved something at the top of the mountain. He used up what little strength he had left to start climbing again. Every step was a sign of how strong he was now. Even though his muscles hurt and he was out of breath, he kept going, driven by a newfound confidence. Eventually, the young man arrived at the monk's place and proudly showed him the feather. The wise old monk smiled and said, "Well done, my son. Today, you learned something very important. Laziness is not something you should just accept. It's a big problem, something you have to work hard to overcome." The young man understood what the monk was saying. He knew deep down that he had the potential to be great, but his laziness was holding him back. He realized he had the strength to overcome any obstacle that was in his way. The monk's challenge wasn't just about getting a feather, it was about being brave enough to do more than you think you can. The young man thought about what the monk had said and decided it was time to face his laziness. He knew that to get what he wanted, he had to set big goals and push himself to do things he didn't think he could do. The young man understood that to succeed, he needed to work hard and not give up. He knew that laziness was something he had control over, and he was determined to take control of it. He was ready to face his fears and push himself to be the best he could be. The young man was no longer just thinking about getting a feather, he was thinking about achieving his dreams. The young man's newfound determination was a turning point for him. He was no longer just going through the motions, he was on a mission to succeed. He was ready to take on the challenge of overcoming his laziness and achieving his goals. The young man's future looked brighter than ever before, and he was excited to see what the future held. The young man's resolve was unwavering, and he was determined to succeed. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was ready for it. He was no longer held back by his laziness, and he was finally free to pursue his dreams. Word count, 676. Even when things got really tough, he said he would keep going, no matter what. He knew that every time he failed, it was a chance to learn and get better. He also promised to be more organized and consistent with his daily routine, because he thought these were important for making real progress. By sticking to a plan and being open to new ideas, he hoped to turn his mistakes into stepping stones that would help him succeed in the long run.